Let's just dive right into this explainer today because we're taking on the topic we have all obsessed over at some point. We are decoding the subtle science behind the age-old, often agonizing guessing game of human attraction. We're going to look really closely at what psychology and behavioral science actually tell us about the hidden signals we send and receive when we're into someone.
Friendly or flirty? Come on, you've definitely walked away from a conversation wondering, wait, were they just being nice or were they actually flirting with me? We have all been there. It is so incredibly easy to misread a situation, right? And that leads to that awful, over-analytical loop in your brain where you dissect literally every single word they said. But what if I told you that the actual words matter way, way less than you think?
You see, we're totally trained by movies to look for these huge, obvious, cinematic signs of attraction. The grand gestures, the ultra-smooth pickup lines. But in reality, genuine attraction is communicated super quietly. According to psychological research, especially studies on flirtatious facial cues, women in particular often express potential interest while maintaining what's called a buffer of safety. And this buffer, it exists for a very specific reason. It protects our egos from the absolute sting of overt rejection. It keeps things subtle, it keeps things ambiguous. You just have to know exactly what to look for.
So, let's jump right into section 1, decoding the body language. Okay, the absolutely crucial point here is that you should never, ever overthink a single isolated movement. A random hair touch, it could literally just mean they have an itchy scalp, right? Or maybe their hair tie is just falling out. Instead, you must look for clusters of signals happening at the exact same time. Social skills coaches actually call this the golden rule of reading people. If you spot 3 or 4 distinct signs of attraction clustered together in one single interaction, well, then you are gathering real, actionable data. Now, this brings us to mirroring. Mirroring is basically your brain's automatic way of saying, hey, I really like this vibe. That makes it a highly reliable signal. Studies in social, cognitive, and affective neuroscience show that when people subconsciously desire to connect, they naturally copy behavior. It's wild. If you lean forward, they lean forward. If you lower your voice, their voice drops to match yours. You can even test this yourself. Just casually lean back in your chair and watch if they settle back within a few seconds, completely without thinking about it. And speaking of body language, a person's feet can completely expose where their true attention lies, even if they're smiling and nodding right at you. Think about it. People can easily fake a polite smile, but they rarely police what their feet are doing. If someone is standing there with you, but their feet are pointing toward the exit, they're basically already halfway out the door. But if you're getting strong eye contact and their feet are planted directly toward you, especially if their arms are uncrossed and open, their body is telling you they are fully invested in this moment.
Moving on to section 2, reading the micro-expressions.
1/25th of a second. Just think about how incredibly fast that is. That is how fast a microexpression flashes across someone's face before their conscious control can even kick in. Because they entirely bypass our conscious brain, behavioral researchers consistently point to these subconscious facial reactions as the single most honest window into someone's internal emotional state. You literally cannot fake these, and honestly, you can't really hide them either.
Now, instead of just staring intensely at someone, which, let's be real, can come off as super creepy, you want to use a relaxed, soft focus gaze to catch these rapid clusters. Watch for things like a quick eyebrow flash, which is a universal signal of openness and recognition. Or look for a relaxed neck tilt, which is a subconscious display of ease and vulnerability. You might even notice a quick softening of the eyes where the facial muscles just kind of loosen up. These tiny, rapid-fire shifts, they show you the emotional truth long before any actual conversation even gets going.
In fact, research shows that men can actually distinguish this very specific, subtle expression from just everyday mere happiness. In multiple studies, when men saw this exact facial cluster, we're talking the head turned to one side, tilted down slightly, with a little smile and direct eye contact, it actually triggered faster recognition of romantic or sexual interest. It's basically a highly specific evolutionary behavior. It's literally designed to get a relationship started, without risking that awful overt rejection we talked about earlier.
All right, zooming out a bit, here is section 3, subtle behavioral signs. To put things into perspective, the human brain typically only remembers about 10% of a casual conversation. 10%. So if they recall some totally tiny, random specific detail a week later, like, I don't know, the fact that your dog is completely terrified of cucumbers, or that you absolutely despise mushrooms on pizza, they are heavily invested. Also, pay attention to eye contact. Holding someone's gaze for just 1 second longer than normal actually releases oxytocin in the brain and builds a deep connection. Couple that with accidental physical brushes to test the comfort zone and super fast text replies that actually ask you questions back, and well, you've got a really clear picture of genuine interest. And the chemical shift happening behind the scenes here is absolutely massive. When romantic attraction really hits, your serotonin levels drop to levels that genuinely mirror clinical anxiety, which causes that crazy obsessive thinking. So if someone who is normally super loud and confident suddenly turns into a fidgety, nervous mess around you, or they suddenly forget what to do with their hands or stumble over their words, yeah, that's not just random nerves. That is a massive, massive tell. There's also what I like to call the secret sharing test. Keep an eye out for this. When someone brings you into their real, private worlds, totally beyond surface-level small talk, maybe they tell you a slightly embarrassing family story or a very real fear they are actively choosing to let you in. People just do not open up to those they feel neutral about. They open up because you already feel important to them and they want to feel safe with you.
Now, let's flip the script. Section 4. Sending the right signals.
You can have the absolute perfect opening line, but if your body is telling a completely different story, the whole interaction just falls apart. Right now, with dating apps and AI-generated openers basically leveling the playing field in the digital world, mastering in-person nonverbal signals is quite literally your ultimate unfair advantage. Sure, AI can write a witty text, but it absolutely cannot teach you how to hold eye contact, or how to lean in properly, or how to match your physical presence with your words. If you deliver this amazing compliment but you're staring nervously at the floor, your body is completely overriding everything you just said. Think about it. If your own body language is closed off or super rushed, people just won't open up to you, which completely ruins your chance to read their signals in the first place. You have to slow down. Imagine moving through a pool of honey. Slowing down your gestures and your speech projects this immense natural confidence. Take up physical space comfortably too. Research actually shows this mechanically sends feedback to your own brain that you are safe and secure. And most importantly, lead with your body. When you walk up, just pause, make eye contact, and smile for just a single second before you even start speaking. That tiny little pause, it is incredibly magnetic. You can put this into practice with this 3-step framework called the push-pull technique. It naturally shifts your energy and body language to turn a boring, standard conversation into this really dynamic interaction. First, you start with a pull. Open body language, leaning in, showing some genuine interest. Then you transition to a push. Leaning back just a bit, maybe breaking eye contact for a split second with a fun, playful tease. And finally, you come right back with a genuine pull, leaning back in with a really warm tone. This works so well because it creates this addictive dynamic tension that keeps the other person fully engaged and honestly chasing your attention. Which brings us to our final takeaway. Section 5, taking action with confidence. Here's the trap so many people fall into. They see 2 or 3 of these signs, they feel that little spark of hope, and then they just wait. They want absolute, undeniably 100% proof before they do anything. But guys, here is the harsh reality. When you wait around for absolute proof, the person who genuinely liked you is eventually going to assume you just aren't interested in them, and they will move on. The window closes. Your biggest risk isn't making a move, it's doing nothing at all. So let's stop overthinking the guessing game, all right? It is time to become the social detective and actually take control of the signals you're putting out into the world. You know the clusters to look for now, from the mirroring and micro-expressions all the way to them remembering the tiny details of your life. And you know exactly how to slow down, take up space, and project your own confident interest. The science is incredibly clear here, and the signals are literally everywhere. So I'm going to leave you with this. What is your body saying right now? And who will you send the right signals to next?